I'm Thomas. I think most of you know me. It's been 10 years since I did this presentation. I think I'll go through a little bit of history of the company, what we're doing now, and what challenges we face, and how we moved along. I'm going to have you advance these slides for me.
Yep.
Thanks. So we'll move on to the next one.
Point at me like you have a clicker.
You want me to click it myself?
No, you can just like
point
at me or something.
Well,
is he in camera range where he's standing now?
I don't know.
Oh, should I stand here?
That's a good.
That's better. Well, yeah. I have a little bit of a cough, so I tested myself, so I'm all good. So, yeah, the humidity just seems to get to me, so I'm good. So, click. So I started in 2008. So before that, I worked for Grass Valley. So I actually moved to Beaverton for the profile. So in 2008, I started my own company, and it's actually just down the street here. I think Jim used to pick me up to go to the airport.
Yes.
Well, you
so memory is not real good, but when you just sent that,
yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, he was the Lake Oswego airporter. Yeah, he used to pick me up at my house, and so we, Apantac is self-funded. I started, and I don't owe anybody any money, except for his expense report I haven't paid. But other than that, it'll be taken care of it this week, I think. Last time I said that, somebody goes, "No, you owe me some money." We're like, "Okay, wait." So our first product was the Multiviewer. Now we have approximately 150 different products. So it's been a while since, and I know nobody uses the book anymore, but we did a book so people know what we have. Otherwise, you kind of forget what products you have. So,
a little like that.
Right. Yeah. So if you need to fall asleep quickly, you can get one of those. So we started out as a multi-viewer company, and that was our kind of our core technology. So this is the house where I started. Maybe to jot your memory.
I remember you had about 3 or 4 kids.
That's right. Yeah. So exactly, I have 3 kids. That's the basement I started. These are actually, I sold this house since then, so it looks much cleaner on the real. I found this picture online when they were trying to sell the house. That's where I actually used to be full of wires and everything. And everybody always says, you start your business in your garage, but it's actually really cold. So I tried that for a little bit before I moved to the basement.
It only works in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So in 2008, for the very first time, I went to NAB as a visitor and not as a part of a manufacturer. So I went there, I walked through, I thought, I got this idea. Maybe some of these guys would want to work with me. So now most of these companies have become one, such as Cobell, Snell, and Grass Valley. Axon is now part of EBS. Utah's still around, but nobody took me. Nobody wanted to take me up on it. So then I started working with Intel. This is part of the thing that's really helped me along the way. And I was very lucky that back then it was called Altera before Intel bought it. So those days, I went over to the Xilinx booth, and nobody wanted to talk to me. I left my name and went over to the Altera booth, and they were really happy to see me. So after I came back, and they followed up with me right away. So I bought a developer's kit, and I bought my first FPGAs. I was going to develop something, right? So that was the reason that I started my own company, was because one day my wife said to me that I think you love your boss more than you love me. So she also said to me, if you're going to work this hard, maybe you should work for yourself. And she came to regret that for a few years. until we really got going.
Hopefully she still loves the boss.
Yeah, right. Well, no, she's my boss now, so
Oh, I see.
yeah, so
So you still love the
I still love the boss. Yeah, so that's kind of the, so and I started buying FPGAs. I started my business by when I was an engineer, I was always afraid of that I would be laid off. So I bought all these rental properties. But I eventually sold those rental properties and started this company.
What's FPGA?
It's fuel programmable gate arrays. So it's, yeah, so it's really the core engine for most of our products. So I've talked about that in a little bit. Actually, I will. Yeah. So I started this business, and I was buying parts from Aero Electronics, which is the biggest distributor. And one day they called me and said, "Hey, I'm outside your office. Where can I find you?" Well, I didn't really have an office. It was actually on Highway 99. There was a UPS store. I rented a box because then the UPS store allowed you to say Suite 101 instead of PO Box, whatever, right? So he was standing outside the UPS store asking me, "Hey, where are you?" So I drove down from my house and I said, "I'll meet you over at the Starbucks right next door." And so because he was about to give me credit, he had to come and see if I had a physical address, which I didn't at that time. But we were about to move. So this is how it started. This is our very first product, and that's an FPGA itself, and that was developed for. And my first customer was OPB. So in 2008, I went to OPB and basically I asked back then Phil and Don, so if you were going to buy a multiviewer, what would you buy? What would you want in it? Then I went to design it, and they were my first customers. So I used to go to OPB a lot, and they would loan me actually things that I could test because I really didn't have all the instruments. But rest assured, we have them all. So, the funny story about OPB was that one day I think it was Phil called me and goes, "Hey, we're doing this inventory thing. Your products have serial numbers?" Like, "Oh yeah, I do." So I said, "I'll run the stickers down." He goes, "No, just tell me what they are." I said, 1 and 2. He goes, "Okay." I said, "You need a sticker?" He goes, "Nah." So I think those 1 and 2, I don't know if they're still running over there or not. But so then my other big customer was the Mobile TV. They actually outfitted the entire truck, and it's at the Diamond Rays Stadium, Tampa Rays Stadium. About 4 years ago, they refurbished the truck, and we actually got some of those units back. And he said, "Hey, you want them back?" I said, "Yeah, that would be great." We actually took them back just as memorabilia. So we worked very close with Intel. So we were one of their first partners that worked on their video IP suites, and I was invited at NAB to talk to their sales force. VIP, the IP stands for. So we actually became a source code partner of Intel because we did so much work with them, and that was we were very fortunate for that. So you asked about FPGA versus ASIC. So one of our core technology, of course, is scalar. There's a lot of scalar ASICs, application-specific ICs out there. Why did we choose one versus the other? Mainly because of the flexibility, because broadcasters keep coming up with new things that we have to put in. So every time there's a feature that we could actually implement it and do a firmware upgrade with an FPGA. If we have chosen a application-specific IC, it would have been very difficult for us. For example, years back, there was the loudness thing. the loudness thing came out, we had enough room in our FPGA to implement that. And it was just a firmware upgrade that we gave to our customer. My wife actually asked me a question one time. She said, when do you stop giving out firmware upgrades? Is the product ever done? I said, well, the day the product is dead, then we don't give any more firmware upgrades. So, okay. Let's do the next one. Yeah, so the reason we use an FPGA, and actually they could pass all these products around and you guys could take a look. The underneath the heatsink is the FPGA. It's actually the core of the product. We're also starting to with the same FPGA type of technology, we started developing also an NDI. So NDI also uses that, an FPGA. So the FPGA also has the flexibility of using an FPGA is that you can actually partition it. You can run part of the FPGA could become a microprocessor. And of course, there's also the FPGA that comes with what they call the hardcore processor on. So with an ARM processor. So we're able to do things like NDI to do decoding with that type of approach. So when you choose an FPGA, there's a few things you have to think about. For example, when I started, we were doing 3G. Now we're doing 12G. So the speed of the transceivers are very, very important. And when we do the design, we always pick of course, the least expensive one that has the potential to go to a more expensive one with the same footprint. So when we run out of processing, we could just, without having to redo the board, put a bigger FPGA on. So what's our core technology? Scaling, because we do multi-viewers conversion, extension, AV over IP, and funny enough, EDID. You know, because now we're moving to the world of not just SDI, a lot of HDMI, a lot of negotiation with the display, and EDID becomes a very important part. So let's move on to that a little bit. The main product category, we started with one product, which is the multi-viewer, and then of course, then we kind of moved on. So we have about, like I said, about 150 products. So we started out with one product, we have about 150. And a lot of these products are built out of necessity because you know, you need more sources, you got to do a DA. You need just to test our own equipment. So everything that we sell is actually part of our test fixture, overall test fixture. You know, buying DA was too expensive, and the cheap DAs don't work very well. So we started building our own DAs. Then we need to have sources. So we have to, instead of buying all these servers, we were converting from HDMI to SDI. So we started building converters. So everything you see, extenders, when we first started, we would get calls from customers. Yeah, you know, the multi-viewer works great, except it doesn't show up doesn't show up on my display. I said, well, so what's going on in between? He goes, well, we buy an extender to extend the, you know, from the machine room all the way to the studio or to the production area, but it doesn't show up. And we said, well, where'd you get your extender? Back in the days when Fry's was still around, and I would get the answer like, Fry's? Oh, what? I don't know how to fix that. So in order to be able to support the product, we started making extenders. So there's a funny story about the extenders. We actually, because we started making extenders, we were chosen by NEC to build all their HD-based extenders. So they go into the display and the projectors. AVM over IP, that's part of our AV over IP strategy. I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's become a really hot topic. and SDM display modules. And these little things. So you guys actually pass these around. You want to see them.
Will you talk about what format the extenders are?
Sure.
Okay. It's TCP versus.
Oh, okay. So, well, that's really over IP, right? So the extenders, depending on, so
I was thinking like, what I've been exposed to is private IP as opposed to jumping in big.
right, exactly. Well, because if you jump into the big network, it's unpredictable, and even that we recommend that you actually partition your switch.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you get a lot of inconsistency and a lot of traffic that you can't control.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the KVM over IPs. Okay. So multiviewers, we have our own multiviewers. This is a multiviewer. They're a lot smaller now. You like them, they're heavy.
Smaller but heavier.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason it's heavy is also because we actually have a mechanical patent on this thing. It's got a magnet. So you could, we don't have anything steel. So you could actually, put it on your rack tray or put it on your rack and without having to Velcro them. Oh,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's not.
No, everything's plastic now.
Let's see.
So our multiviewers are modular multiviewers. We have open gear multiviewers. I think we're passing an open gear card around. We have throwdowns. I didn't bring one. We also have multiviewers with KVM built in. For example, if you have a clock split, you can actually, within that clock split, control 4 different computers just by moving your mouse. Yeah. So, and so that's really our economic model. That it's called the MI16. Yeah. That one actually also has a built-in passive loopback. So if you needed to run signals other places, you don't need to buy a PA. We were surprised by when Blackmagic came out with a much less expensive multiviewer than everybody. So we had to answer to that. But of course, by removing a lot of the more expensive technology, it's now one of our best sellers. So. Scan converters, because now computer is part of our life, and we really went anywhere from when we started, composite VGA all the way now to HDMI 2.0. These are also very, very popular. Of course, then we go the other way. So I think that one of the boxes, it's that particular box over there, it's an SDI to HDMI. Because you have to take SDI either on the display or there are a lot of things that people are doing now. They would take computers and convert it to video and go to a major switch, a big switch, to switch the signals around. So extenders, we do copper extenders and fiber extenders. So anywhere from HDMI to AV over IP, or just pure fiber, SDI to SDI, or HDMI fiber, or display for fiber, anything you need. So we do a lot of things. We also do a lot of work on DisplayPort, which was really the very first 4K capable standard for HDMI. So like the medical guys really like this one. So we have point-to-point extenders, and we have KVM over IP. So there's two boxes you see on the KVM over IP. It's over a 1 gig network. Supports anywhere from VGA all the way to HDMI. Also supports USB 2.0. One of the things that's been very, our extenders, our KVM over IP has been very, let's see, well accepted in the industry is because our ability to adapt to other people's products. For example, there's a truck out in Wisconsin. They say, yeah, we've been having trouble with our USB extension. They're running a NewTek 3-play. And they said, yeah, we can't get anybody else's to work. So they sent us one. We plugged in and it worked right away. But before, like Ross had a character generator. They couldn't get it to work. And we just asked them to send us their keyboard. We wrote a new driver and now it's just fine. So, anything over IP, there's always some troubleshooting needed. But being a local company, you guys can always call us and walk you through it, even if you're not local. So, and if you have things that's troubling you, a lot of times you can work around and get a solution for that. Let's see what else is there. SDM module. So that little module that's being passed around, it's actually it's made it all the way here. Yeah. Yeah. So this is it's a standard by Intel, and if you could display that has SDM slot in it. So this particular unit here is it's 12G SDI. So you put that into your display and turn your display into a SDI display. Which one?
Oh, I was just, it was so dense. I was looking at this. I said, yeah, I didn't have room for a connector.
A very clever design. It appeals to me.
I can think of some things at home that I would probably have to convert to something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're the very first SDM manufacturer that doesn't build a PC. You can actually build a PC and slot in that into a display. So these SDM products, so we have 12G to HDMI 2.0, which is this one. Or we have a multi-viewer, which is not here. We just packed our truck, so everything that's going to NAB is not here. So we have a 40 by 30 booth in NAB that has quite a few products that you can show. So we got into NDI quite a bit. NDI has become popular as a AV over IP standard. It's a lot of people are now using it instead of SD2110. It's really, for lack of a better expression, is the poor man's SD2110, I guess. It's a lot less expensive to implement. Okay. SDBOE, it's a new standard. This standard passes HDMI 2.0 over a 10 gig Ethernet. SDBOE stands for Software Defined Video over Ethernet. So we also have a board just like this, and we're also building now some open gear cards, but that would allow you to make a video switch, matrix. HDMI, HD-base-T. HD-base-T is actually, I look back on my old presentation in 2012 when HD-base-T first came out. When we were doing it, this is the extender that we built for NEC. I was talking at KGW, and somebody actually raised their hand and says, that doesn't work. That technology doesn't work. And I said, oh, of course it does. The one I had worked. I said, I'll just leave these here. If it works, tomorrow you guys could buy them. So they ended up buying them because they said because the extender they were using that was on the weather set, and it would just glitch out every now and then. And so of course we left ours there. So I actually made a sale on my last SBE meeting. So part of the reason, a lot of the products, I know everybody's getting more and more price conscious. So a lot of products, you can see things that are $3,000 for the same product. You could buy it for $30 sometimes. But there are some differences in there. So for example, HDBaseT reason KGW says that doesn't work is because, we all use, a lot of times we use the same chipsets, but there's still, how you make the board and how you design the circuitry, it really makes a difference in the product. Again, another example would be like DisplayPort 4K. We have a medical company that looked at ours and said, I bought 4 of these. I took them all apart. You guys all use the same chipset. How come yours work and theirs don't? Yeah, that's really,
Firmware.
Well, also actually the design itself, the PCB design itself, the ground planes in between the boards, at that high speed, everything. It makes a big difference. Firmware is also another very important part. But it all goes back to, a lot of times goes back to the analog design. Younger engineers actually don't learn that anymore, strangely enough. Everything's digital, but the board itself is not. Let's see what else I got. Oh, that's what these look like. So on these SDMs, that's this one. You have a large and a small. So on the side of the display, you could, it comes with a large slot. So for example, if you needed to make a PC that's more powerful. So for example, when we do the NDI one, we needed a large because all these DDRs are there. So for the scaling, so these are much more simple. Oh, they almost look the same. So that's that. Okay. We also do them over fiber, this SDBOE, and we have ones that do over fiber, and the fiber ones are they're especially convenient for projectors. Supply chain issue. I don't know if you guys heard about this problem lately, but we're kind of lucky because we're an Intel partner and Intel Fab is actually here. So that makes it very convenient. But so, if you heard a lot of people who that can't deliver or can't give you a lead time, a lot of the product are based on Xilinx. And Xilinx, it's manufactured in TSMC, so it's Taiwan Semiconductor. And they have a big backlog, so they're having problems there. So other shortages are, fire. For example, you get 5994, you need an oscillator. The oscillator, doesn't matter whose oscillator you buy, but the core comes from Japan, and that factory caught on fire. So we have the same problem, like, there's an RF factory caught on fire in Vietnam. So that's also a problem. And I think after the factory came back, they couldn't get anybody to come back to work. So some components, we actually have to suspend some products because some components actually went up, the price went up 200 times. So we can't build that product anymore because that's, for example, we have a part that's now, it went from 29 cents to like $250. So, and I can't sell the product for $250. So there were some supply chain issues. But we're one of the better ones. So if you ask us, when we could deliver, the worst case we have right now is a couple months, 2 or 3 months maybe. But most of the time we could deliver within still weeks. But what we were told that some companies out there, it's literally a year. And some companies out there, they say, well, give us an order and then we'll tell you. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what we do and how we started.
Some of these cost increases we're talking about, supply issues too, but are you going to be able to consider some of them kind of temporary, or is this going to be a permanent adjustment you have to make in the product line?
Well, so
I mean, usually prices are never from there, but
they
I don't know how you can be expected to build something, with that kind of a pricing.
some products we just stop making them.
Yeah.
We wait, right? But some of the prices went up because unless I want to wait a year, I have to pay the premium. Yeah. So when we look for a part, a lot of times they say yes, 60 weeks lead time. And in the old days, we'd say, okay, we'll design that out and design something else. And now we're not sure if that product's going to be around that long, right? So we have to be very careful on all that. So the good thing is we didn't have to go to any trade show for 2 years, so we saved a lot of money, but they're all now in parts. It's one of the more challenging things that we deal with every day.
I can't imagine. That's why it kind of tweaks my imagination in business. Having to suspend a product with the hope that the parts are going to be either available or cost effective again or not.
Right. So for example, like DAs, 12G DAs, we suspended them because the reason we actually used to make 12G DAs because we would have to do a minimum quantity purchase on parts. So it's like I have to buy 1,000 of these and let's make some other products to consume them. Now it's the other way around. I only get 100 of these. Maybe I, use this somewhere else that can make more money. Yeah. Instead of making DAs. Yeah. So that's why there's a big shortage now because people are like, okay, we can only make these products and not these products. About everything. People don't think about it. To do semiconductors, we need neon gas. Who's the largest supplier of neon gas in the world? Ukraine. Yeah.
Isn't it atmospheric distillation? Liquid air?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Don't we get neon from?
Yeah, but it's a byproduct.
Well, doesn't everyone make liquid air?
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, isn't it fractional distillation from liquid air? Is the source of it?
Yeah, but
hospitals have liquid air. Then
Right.
they sell the nitrogen back to whoever the
Nitrogen, yes.
they sell it back as a byproduct. And
Yep.
isn't there a lot?
So
Why is there one country doing that?
well, I think it's the only cost-effective place doing it. So yeah,
Like 0.14% of the atmosphere or something?
right. It's actually, I think it's out of the steel factory over there. They're the only one.
They're
Selling.
making tons of oxygen.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. So we use nitrogen in the SMT process, right? The inert gas. So that hasn't gone.
We still have plenty of that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm thinking, what is it? The helium mostly comes from as a radioactive decay product from thorium. It's the alpha particles that are shooting off of it, and then they rise to the surface of the Earth, where we collect them from natural gas wells or whatever.
Yeah.
Every atomic bomb has a little pump and a little tank with it after the release.
Yeah, of course, there's a helium-3, which is a decay product of tritium, and then helium-4 is the alpha particles, essentially.
Do you guys remember the what is it? Fusion. The cold fusion.
Oh, in Utah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was working as a physics graduate student in the chemistry department next to the guy who came up with it.
Hans and
Yeah, Hans and Fleischmann. Yeah.
cold cream and margarine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There were people who actually knock on my office door. Hey, got any cold fusion going on in here? I was like, no. So at our bookstore, they actually sold this thing, a little toy that drops an Alka-Seltzer into a thing. It's called it cold fusion. We all bought one and put it in our office.
Well, Emerald Clemens said it's easier to fool people than to convince people that they're fooled.
Yes.
And who's our crazy physicist? Feynman said, the easiest person in the world to fool is yourself.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what they did. I think there was a problem with their meter. That was, they were like, look, there's energy gain. I was like, we actually went and looked at it. It's like, are you sure this thing's calibrated?
I mean, it was an interesting idea, and that when I think there are some metals that will absorb almost 4 molar hydrogen, and the density of the hydrogen dissolved in that metal is greater than liquid hydrogen, and then when you imagine that with, say, deuterium and tritium, and are they close enough? And then the other thing that sort of hit me in the back of the mind was, okay, so you've got this metal that will absorb the hydrogen or the isotopic hydrogens. You put that in a hot fusion environment, and wouldn't that really go? I mean, I sort of wondered, had they accidentally uncovered some national nuclear secret that that maybe the Department of Energy really didn't want out there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. I think Stanley Pons is running a restaurant. Oh.
Yeah,
What's the metal that serves that much hydrogen?
well, I know thorium. I forgot what it was for cold fusion, but it was one of those. It was something less dense than thorium. I know thorium will absorb 4 molar hydrogen, but and you can go to a chemical catalog and find thorium deuteride D3 available, but anyway, not cheap.
Yeah. Any other questions?
How's Brian doing?
Mine's doing great. So we now have a local sales guy. So
Yes.
so you guys, some of you might have met Bill Gray from before. I don't know. Yeah, he was. But Bill's been in a wheelchair for about 4 years, so he hasn't been able to travel. So that's why. But he still works for us. So I've been neglecting this region a little bit. So sorry about that. So now we have Brian. He's local. I'm local.
Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate Brian. He's always been a big supporter. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay. Yes.
I appreciate you guys, what you do and your flexibility in your business. And it's really gratifying to have a business that's so responsive here in the area. Always has been. And especially, I really, from a business standpoint, admire how flexible the company is, and you're able to adjust and meet customer needs that a lot of people just want to do. So, that's a lot of what you built your business on.
Yeah, that's our goal. We used to joke about it. that customer would, even now, a customer would ask us a question. Hey, what's your support policy? You know, I said, well, we support the product as long as it's, you know, even after warranty period is gone, you can still get all the firmware upgrades. Right? But we'll fix it as much as we can. Yeah. So, but the biggest joke is when somebody calls you for a question, goes, hey, can I have your credit card number? Yeah. You know, that's one of the reasons I left the big corporation. There's a confusion between, you know, service as a business or service as a service, really. You know, somehow it became when there's service and support. You know, I think IBM came up with that model that you should always charge for service. It becomes a very profitable business unit. So good, you know. But 90% of the time, I would ask our support manager, say, "How was your day?" He goes, "What do you mean? Nobody calls me to thank me. You know, only people ever call me. There's a problem."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I trust you have a really good NAV show.
Well,
Company. It's
thank you.
for you.
Yeah. So yeah, we haven't been for 2 years. The last trade show we were was actually at Infocom in Florida. So they did pull that off. We had a really good show because we're like the only people that actually had equipment. But it was packed for NAB in April, and it just kind of sat around until it got to the Infocom. Didn't even happen until November. Well, this year I think most of the trade show will be back on track.
Did they have a European show this year?
IBC?
Yeah, IBC.
They canceled IBC last year, like a week before the show.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because we already shipped everything over there. They said, yeah. Well, at first they're like, everybody's canceling. They said, well, we're moving your booth around. Then they moved our booth, and then at the very last minute, they said it's canceled. So it took us a month to get our equipment back. So,
Well, won't that, in theory, make this spring show better?
yeah, I think so.
Because they didn't have anything. Hopefully, you'll get some more international business than you would have had because IBC didn't have.
Yeah, but people are still not traveling as much.
Yeah, no, you're right there.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So for like, I think in Europe, there's no quarantine period, but like in Asia, you know, a lot of countries, you come over here, you go back, you have to be locked up for weeks. So, you know,
It's a challenge.
yeah, so that's why, you know, the major players like Sony and Panasonic, they're really not sending anybody here. Yeah, and then NAB this year, they got rid of the South Hall. So now they have Central, North, and West. The landmark? I thought it was the Riviera.
Well, kind of both.
Yeah, kind of both. Yeah, yeah. So they got rid of that parking lot.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. You know, with the supply chain shortage, it's been difficult trying to come up with new products because you're not sure once you build it, you can actually mass produce it.